This is 2OF Entertainment.
Oh, good day to you.
Good day to you, Paul. How are things in still wintry in Canada?
Winter Wonderland coming again tomorrow. Where, you know what, that's the way March is, and it goes out like a lion, I guess, and we'll be seeing some green grass and birds and flowers, and it'll be good. Be able to see some, actually uncover all the snow. You're gonna be able to see some sculpture, which will be kind of nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of my segue into our show today. We have Elanor Jazz with us from Halifax, Nova Scotia. She does very unique sculpture. I mean, it's ephemeral sculpture. I think sculpture that I guess responds to the landscape, and it's immersive. I mean, you can really see works through it. You can see life around it. It's part of the space. Very different types of work, and she's a graduate of College of Art in Nova Scotia, but she's also part of a design degree at the Bauhaus School. So I think these are all major influences that have gone into this work that I guess is it's responsive in a way, and I want to see how it's part of her personality, and it's like a conversation. We'll bring her in, and we're going to talk to her about that today, and we'll get her going. It was quite an amazing piece.
Yeah, well, I just saw that she just jumped off the feed for a couple of minutes. I don't know why she did. I think she's coming back with us now. Okay, looks like it. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. It looks like she's sitting outside as well, Paul. So makes me feel all shivery just looking at all the cold. But let's get Ellen in.
Well, as long as she's warm, and there you go. Perfect. How are you doing this morning?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good.
Well, look, guys, I'll let you get on with the show. Have a great show, and I'll speak to you at the end. But have a great show.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Wow, good snowy day to you. Yeah. You're in the
Winter Wonderland indeed.
Yeah, you're in your big studio outside. That's amazing. Yeah. It used to be to have conversations inside studios where you're nice and warm and everything, but as long as you're all nice and warm and everything's fine. Beautiful sunny day there, right? I can see some of your sculpture in the background. You're teasing people with some of the things that we're going to talk about today. I think initially, we're going to start with your art journey a little bit, Elanor. You know, talking about where did this start in the beginning? Can you talk like you're a welder now? I can't believe it. Like here you are, you're welding, putting works together, which is amazing. Can you bring us up to speed as to where you are today? So, where did you start, and a little bit of your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the world around us is just sometimes too complicated. I always liked being in my own space and creating new things. I started out with drawing when I was very young, and then it just kept on. I just kept on, creating things. I also ventured into special effects makeup for a little while and begun creating masks that are three-dimensional and to fit with my face. But I was given an amazing opportunity to study sculpture at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. And I've always, like, every day there was I had so much gratitude. We had access to state-of-the-art metal shop, and I never dreamt or even imagined that I'd ever be able to be in such a space and have access to such big machinery. I was inspired to create new things out of materials that are associated with construction materials. I wanted to give new life to these elements that are usually considered very square, and to create buildings that are strict. I wanted to take us outside of the construction world of strictness, and show how fluid life is, even through the most rigid of materials.
Yeah. No, I think actually now we're just going to get David to start up the first slide, and then we can go through. There you are. And there you are in formal wear indoors. And it's just very beautiful. This is kind of a sculpture that you mentioned, a drawing background, and I can see this is like drawing with metal. Like it becomes this three-dimensional drawing. I mean, they're minimalist, and they're not full of color. They're just these beautiful little line strokes that are almost like a cross hatching, in three-dimensional cross hatching. So what inspires the shapes and the imagery that you are building? Like, is it from nature? Is it from your responses? Where do they come from?
Yeah.
Sorry about the question. You're sitting beautifully in the forest. I can see trees behind you, and foliage, and your sculpture sitting on the landscape, and it's responding to that space in a way, because you can see through it, yet it's still there, right? It's sort of like a tree without its leaves. It does feel very natural to me in the look. Is that kind of what you're going for a little bit in this form of sculpture?
Yeah, absolutely. You got the nail on the head completely there. For me, I find, like, how can you not be inspired from nature? It's all around us, at least here in Canada. I'm very blessed to be living in a gorgeous province where you just take a look from your window and it's like a fairy tale, even though we've grown accustomed to beautiful scenery. I get inspired from birds a lot. Like the way their journeys and the way they create homes, hence the construction material that I use in a different way. For them, little twigs and sticks are how they make their nests. And from that vision, I'm using similar shapes in the way that birds build their nests slowly but surely. I like to render in that same way.
Yeah, no, you can see that how the pieces are attached and put together. They form those shapes that you're building. I mean, they tend to be, leg-like. Like there's things in the structure sitting on a leg, and we'll get into a couple more images here shortly, and we'll just go through and show the responses between. I'm gonna just go on here. This is the same piece that's in the gallery situation, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the piece that's behind you.
Yeah.
Well, it's really nice to see what it looks like in a space, and then also on location in the background in nature. So you have, I guess I'm just looking at, you see the structures of windows and an inside space, and then you have this organic shape that you've created that's within the man-made structure of the building. And there is kind of a nice, I guess, a response thing that's happening. Now, these are two pieces of sculpture separately. They're two separate pieces, correct? Yes. Yeah, I just see that. But they're built. Are they built to respond to each other? Is that like
Yeah.
like it has they seem to have this conversation, and I think, what would that conversation be to you? Like the conversation they're having. Like if you were to put words to that, even one or two of them, what would that be? That in the space that they're in,
um,
is it
you
kind of a
know,
connectivity? Is that what that is about? Uh, is there, I guess, wonderment? Is there like, why are we here? Like what would they respond to?
yeah, I guess, like the entire essence of this piece is how, people in the East Coast are so friendly and hospitable to each other. Um, for me, where I was going from is to have an abstraction of a common object, which is the Windsor chair, which has deep-rooted history in this. In the province here, it was, handmade hundreds of years ago in the province by local carpenters. I wanted to give life to these objects as if giving them a human feel. As you can see, one is kind of tipping over, and the other is overextending its arm to hold the other chair. I like to think that it's a beautiful relationship.
Yeah. I like that you've mentioned that, because I think people see other things in them. But you got a bit of wind coming on your microphone being
Yeah.
outside, but no, it's a nice, I guess, a different response, because I think people see so many different things in the sculpture, and I think that's important, that we see something in ourselves in the works. And I think having your perspective of where it starts from is really, I think it's important that we have a starting sense by the artist, and saying, like, what inspires you to do these? I mean, what other inspirations are there that I mean, you're responding to things that are human, and but mixed with nature. And I guess I'm just looking for the responses that, I guess, the energy to create pieces of work. I mean, your energy, what is the next one that you would be thinking of? Are they always in your mind, like another one, another one, another one?
um, I I like to think that each piece really speaks itself while I'm in the studio. Um, it usually begins really with two pieces of rods, and it goes from there. We're
Yeah.
looking right now at the ice piece.
I switched it up. I forgot we didn't have another metal piece just yet, but you work in another art form as well, which is ice, which is really, really opposite to uh, metal. I mean, well, they are two very different forms. This one's a very structured form, but you're working with light, and you're working something that's fairly fragile. I mean, you have a very short time frame to produce pieces of work like this that give a different feeling. But can you talk about your ice sculpture a little bit? Not specifically, but you can. But about that form and that you work in the sculpture.
Yeah, I find the material ice is very evocative to our location. I think having work rooted in context is very important, especially when the material in and by itself speaks volumes. I find working with ice is just very magical to me. Because light really comes through as a very prominent element in any work when it's an ice sculpture. So it's kind of like having harmony with nature in another way. um, I just love working with a material that challenges but also puts you, face to face with nature and how raw and beautiful it can be.
Yeah. There's a time frames though, right? You have to work fairly quickly with ice. Your metal work you can work on over a longer period of time to build your responses in sculpture. Um, so when you come upon a block of ice, do you have a preconceived idea what you're going to do? You work collaboratively sometimes as well, correct? And,
I do, yeah, when the opportunity presents itself.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
catching some little bit of wind on your mic in there. There we go.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. It's just about, just getting inspired from the outdoors and
No, we love
fire
that.
and ice.
Yeah.
Contrast, yeah, yeah.
So is this back to the chair concept a little bit in ice? This piece,
Um,
like
yeah,
yeah. I love the warmth against the coolness of the ice. I mean, there's that fire and ice feeling, with the light. The light. Well, light becomes when you take all the light away in the evening or at night, which we have probably a lot of in the wintertime. And then you add. The only place you're going to get light is either natural light or you're going to get fire. So at a certain point, marrying the two together in the context of the city, it's quite a. So do you work in? Is there an ice festival that you work in like annually?
yeah. We have here in Nova Scotia, there's the Dartmouth Ice Festival. It's a yearly occurrence. And, every year I try my best to participate. And, it's just such a huge opportunity to me to be working with this incredible material. It takes a lot of work and energy to create a crystal clear ice block. And, um, whenever I get my hands on one, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, a lot of the chefs, they like in the fancy restaurants, they'll do sculpture as well, and or for the centerpieces and things. And it has a limited life, though. Really, like you're building something which is quite different than your metal work, which is intended to last longer. This has a short time span for a response. So, do there lots of people come out to the festival and look at things?
Um, it's every time I participate, I find there's more people than the last time. This year was so packed. I find the public is very interested and in the sculptures and in the sculptors as well. It's very open to the public. I think it raises amazing awareness about just like being an artist in real life. So many kids come out to us and they ask us questions and they want to get involved. It's just nice to be out there in the cold and show how any material can speak another language to the public, and maybe more people would feel like pursuing an education in art would be something that's worth pursuing.
Yeah. So do you encourage that with people around you, like lots of other young artists to maybe think about a career in art and saying that you're working now. Are you working full time as an artist? Is that what you're doing?
You know, for me, it's always a full-time thing. My head always thinks in sculptural ways. I can't make it stop. I'm just very excited for the upcoming works ahead. It's gonna be a little different because now that I graduated, I don't really have access to the metal shop anymore and the
Yeah.
amazing technicians and community there. So it's gonna be different in a good way.
Well, there are, like, you could get into it, I think, quite economically. There's not the space becomes important that a shop that you can work in, but by the time you get a welder and a chop saw and some of the metals and stuff, it's not, and you slowly add pieces to what you need. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to partner with places that have facilities that you can have, and the luxury of the school is amazing to work out of it in a shop. But it's what, it's an exciting adventure, I think. Building your own vision around a workshop and a studio, and I think there's things to work towards. It's hard to rush into things, but when you've had the luxury to start with, and now you know where you have to build something to get to a certain point, to say this, that feeling to get good work done professionally, and getting the thing that you need to do. But Ice Festival, you can go on anytime. You just keep on going. You just go out to the big studio and at the Ice Festival, and you work on your pieces. It's not a problem. Well, here's one with you. Is this a friend that you usually collaborate with on works?
So to be honest, it's quite rare for me to be collaborating. But this year I was, very lucky. I was organizing the NSCAD contribution to the Ice Festival this year with the amazing Professor Jessica Winton. She's, she used to be one of my sculpture professors. She's still teaching. I graduated, so. But we were able to organize the NSCAD contribution together, and we also, thought maybe let's just share a block and see what happens.
No, and it gives a scale of the size of the block of ice, with you both kind of standing, leaning on it before you get started on it. So it's like, I haven't carved ice myself, but I know a number of people that do it, and they get addicted to it. Because the luxury of being able to carve ice is it's specially made for carving, so that it can be clear, doesn't have any bubbles in it, and it's a great opportunity for an artist to do those things when the opportunity arrives, to build something from ice. Yeah, beautiful. Here it is here again. So is this the finished piece?
It is.
Yeah. So it's I guess an ornate plinth, and I look at this thing, and how does that to you respond to the location? Like, we talked about how we're in Canada, we get a little bit of ice, and we get a little bit of winter, so but you know what, the light is coming through that beautifully. You can almost see the city through it, which is similar to your sculpture in metal. You can see through the sculptures. They don't just become a block where they block your vision and you want to walk around them, but this isn't obscuring anything. This is still revealing in an obscured way a little bit of the background. Can you speak to that, how that responds to, and now this is in Dartmouth, correctly? Am I correct? Yeah. So on the harbor there. So, well, how many sculptures would be available to look at in this festival?
Oh my goodness, so many sculptures to look at. It's a wonderful festival, you know. I wish I had, you know, I like, I wish I was able to actually have the perspective of being an audience member, just enjoy myself on the day. But usually families have a blast, you know. So there's a street in Dartmouth. It's all closed. Like they would close it down for cars, and so many professional ice sculptors would be on that street. Carving amazing, mind-blowing ice sculptures. They would get their chainsaws out, and everything is so beautifully rendered. You know, there's the pubs and the restaurants around. They would make discounts for the day or the couple of days that the festival would go for. You know, there's a big igloo. There's an igloo party at night, DJ. It's just the most fun time ever in the winter.
Yeah. I think we need to, yeah, as Canadians, we need to accept that we have winter and just enjoy every day that we can, because you know, summer is short a lot of times, but the winters are long, and when you have festivities that are, I guess, they're built around artists, right? Like artist music is always part of it as well, and I think it's you know, really respond to our habitat that we live in, and it's great that you can produce pieces of work like this and let people respond and you know, participate. I guess that's part of it as well. Especially the kids. The kids love things like that, making something out of nothing. Really, you know, they can go back in their backyard and make something out of snow sculpture as well instead of ice, but they can get inspired by it. We're going to go indoors now. Here we are. So here's the two pieces that we have shown previously a little bit, but inside an inside space, and you can get a real feeling for the linear aspects of the work, right? Yet it's three-dimensional, so you can see lines that are kind of drawn over top of lines, like there's layering that's happening. It's minimal. You can see the chair aspects to it. We talked about this earlier, and I said I see other things in it, but it's like I always see that, and as soon as I say something, that's all I see after a while. But you walk around an object like this, and it's like looking at a 3D program that as you walk around it, the lines change, you know, and they become something else, and then something else. And each day you look at that, you find something else to look at it. So they become inspiring in the piece in themselves. They're not always, they're probably built in the vision of what you wanted, because that's what inspired it. But how is that when other people speak about your work in a different way? How do you respond to that?
You know, I really like to think that reality is very subjective. You know, there's no one truth, I don't think, in anything. So, you know, through my work or through other things, I find that like the reality of life peeks through art, just like as it does through paintings or my sculptures. It just makes me more aware of the reality that we live in. You know, nothing is just one way to see things, and I think it's just the beauty of life. We can see that.
Yeah. No, it's when I look at these pieces, it is really, you know, I love the white wall background when I really get a feeling for the vision. Like they get lost a little bit in a landscape because if it like it can be busy in the background, but when they go indoors as a piece, you really get a different feeling for them. Like they're behind you in the snow, and I think they're there, but they're not there. If you know what I mean, like they become part of that organic background they now saying the sculptures are saying, I'm organic. There I am. Where this, when you bring them indoors, it's sort of like bringing a plant indoors. Like the plant is organic within 4 walls or 2 walls, whatever you like. And I think the response is different when you bring a sculpture into the space. So these, how tall are these pieces? About 3 feet high?
My goodness,
3
they're so tall. I don't know. Let's test it out. I'm 5'8", so I forget the last time I measured, but they're like this tall.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I don't really I don't really like to confine myself in scale. But transportation gets tricky that way, but I'm fine with paying that tax.
Yeah, that is the other thing we haven't talked about is transportation. They're not overly heavy, but they take up volume like space. So I think, and I don't think that should hinder an artist. But this kind of work, you could work on location if they had a space, correct? So it's one of those things that if somebody wanted the sculpture produced for their outdoors somewhere, they could find a facility for you to work in, and it could be built. I would think. I'm imagining that, but that I'm sure that has happened before. But sculptures, that's always been a problem. The sculptures, how do I get it to where location where it's supposed to be? And, but part of it is like as an outdoor sculpture, it's somewhat fragile. It feels it needs to be. I know sometimes with public sculpture, it pretty much you can lean your bike up against it. They want to wash it off with a hose and like it can't be babied very much. Unfortunately, so it's one of those things like building. Have you thought of with working with heavier materials going forward, like in your career, what you're doing?
Absolutely. That's the thing with public art. You want it to be very solid, and I find marble is very interesting for me. I would love to explore that one day. But yeah, every material has its own story, and I think it's just I would love to explore most of the solid materials that would compare to metal, like stainless steel, for example.
Right. So we talked about these 2 pieces of sculpture, and we talked earlier a little bit before the show. They are this Windsor chair concept of this relationship between these two objects that you've been. But I see 2 different objects, and I'm just gonna put it out there a little bit. He said the one that really stands out in a silhouette situation is it feels like maybe a deer or an elk of some nature, just the way the lines are crossing over. And the one in the foreground in the left here is it feels like a whale, just and the splash of the ocean coming out. And how is that for when people say things like that to you? That I see something else in your work. Is that gratifying, or do you say, well, you missed the message, or does it really matter?
Well, at the end of the day, you only create something, but again, it's just like a diamond, right? Through each little angle, you see different reflections, but it doesn't mean it's not the same shape overall. I just find it's the most fun experience to be, at a show and listening to other people's interpretations. And, that's the thing with going to shows and just being with the work. It just makes you create connections with other people how they see the world, and through the sculptures or through the art. I think it's artwork is about making connections, and it's just like the most beautiful part of being an artist.
No, they're beautiful pieces, and I admire what you do. Now this is just a small. This one feels like a maquette, something smaller for a concept to make something bigger from. What is it sitting in? It's sitting in a round space. Where is this located? This one. It's quite small though. Great. Am I correct?
It's this big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was this amazing opportunity with the Nova Scotia Burning Man organization. They had this nocturne contribution. We have, every year in Nova Scotia, we have an Art by Night festival by the waterfront and all throughout downtown, really. Like we met at a gallery, and it went from there. They were creating a big magpie's nest inspired immersive work by the waterfront, and they had a symbol of a nest throughout the arch that they've created. I got to have one of my little pieces as one of the magpie's nests. And it was the most surreal experience, experiencing it by night with all the lights.
Yeah. Very nice. There we go. Can you speak to this piece? I'll talk a little bit of how I feel about it, but it just the meaning of it and what you're doing when you're working with the metals here. So this one isn't so much welded pieces together. This one becomes a wire form, which is a different way of looking at your sculpture.
It's definitely something different than what I was used to. It was actually the sculpture was created over a period of 2 days at a work conference at the Marriott Hotel downtown Halifax. It was a very, work-related conference, but they needed the contrast with the lightness that art creates. Couldn't really get a welder inside. So I had to think differently. It was my first time trying to create something out of metal wire and making the scale as expansive. So this one is the contrast between the wireframe, when you think about standard ways of living and expectations, sometimes you find yourself in this box, but I really liked the intertwine between the flexibility of metal wire with the rigidness of the structure.
No, it has a really nice feeling of organicness within a structure. So it's not, I guess the symbolisms can be multitude. There's many ways you can interpret this, whether it be this organic shape living within, like you said, a structured space, that man-made space. Still very linear, and you can see through it, and it responds to the background, which is also man-made that it lives in. But you have this organic feeling of a metal that is not really organic, right? But as a wire structure, it's continuous. This continuous line, and it's still part of that drawing aspect that you carry throughout your work. You know, how do you make that pencil work that you did as a child still part of what you're doing today? So those early years that you were development years, even, I guess I'll call it, for what you're building today. So there, you know, it has a, I like that it's breaking out outside the box, as they say, a little bit, and it's not all being conformed within. So you can read into it what you want from that. So it's just got kind of a, there's a freedom aspect to it. I guess I'll say that much. How many sculptures were part of this thing at the Marriott?
So it was a live sculpture created over a period of 2 days. So yeah, you know, when the conference wrapped up, it was donated to the organization that, you know, hosted me. The organization is related to Francophone immigration in the province and helping Francophone immigrants to settle in. So, you know, with this organization, it does collaborate with many other similar organizations in our province, which form the actual solid structure, which we can see in the sculpture. And the fluid lines are, you know, how the individual is being able to thrive within, you know, the assets that these organizations are giving the individuals that have left everything in their home country and are trying to become someone in a new space. And to actually prosper, not just, you know, survive.
Yeah, no, I think we've brought a lot of people to our country to, you know, to have a better life. I think that's one of the things. So this is, we had this shot in the beginning, just a close up of you, how the two pieces respond to each other a little bit. You can see the yin and yang of them a little bit, how they are, and we won't spend a lot on this piece we're talking about. But it's I love the imagery though in your black outfit. Like it really contrasts nicely with, you know, the linear aspects of the sculptures. It's got a, yeah, it's quite nice. So here's a piece here, a smaller piece sitting up on a plinth, and it, can you talk about this one a little bit? Different than the other pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, different from the other pieces, this one is about individuality and the strength within oneself. You know, I find so much freedom in the activity of running. We have a wonderful, you know, breathtaking waterfront here in the city. It's perfect for, you know, to run around and to take in the beautiful scenery of the ocean. And we have an island that we can see. So the sculpture really is inspired from the movement of running and how, you know, it's sometimes painful, but the way it's rendered, it shows how liberating it is also. It's just, you know, I find liberation within movement. And yeah, that's what this piece is
Yeah.
mostly
Well,
about.
it has a nice strong base to it, and it has this additive quality to it, where there's things, the multiplicity that build up at the bottom to a spire at the top. I mean, it's got it feels, it still feels really organic, but it could be I don't know, a wisp of smoke. It could be, because it's a drawing, feels like a drawing. Um, it's just working with the nature of these welded shards of metal that are put together to form a shape, you know, and it's three-dimensional. It's not a two-dimensional shape. Um, Now, this is a smaller piece, but I think it responds nicely. You can walk around it and see it from different angles and pieces like that. I could see these in, very nicely in the reception areas and businesses and things like that. But I almost see it. It almost could be a maquette for a major large piece that would be outside in a structured area in the city, in one of the cities, and it would be a really nice response piece to see something like that, larger scale, like really large, like 5 times as big, like really, you have to look up to it quite a bit. Would be really nice to see something like that. One day, maybe somebody will see that and say, "I would like something similar." I'm sure you're willing to look at those opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, this was a great opportunity here. We have His Honor Lieutenant Governor General Mike Savage and Her Honor Mrs. Savage attend your show. This is what an honor that is to have that happen to you for your show. What did they say? What did they say about your show?
That their honors were so generous with their time. I feel so grateful. See, that's the thing with being on a journey, following your truth. You never know who you're gonna meet, and I feel so grateful to have met their honors. We walked around the show, and I showed them around the sculptures. We had very interesting conversations and about birds, actually. Since it's rendered the way how they built their nests, we had a little connection there, and it was a great time.
No, it's nice to have people, I guess, from our government in some places I guess, to get their responses, which are sometimes quite different. They're in public life, coming to a show, and I think it's kind of important to invite some of those people. And sometimes they come to your show, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll come to your show while you're not there, and respond, which is okay to do. But, a little bit of notoriety is nothing wrong with that at all. And I'm glad that they came to your event. Now, this piece where it's going to show the piece that they're standing by here is this piece right here. Can you talk about? I guess the piece is called Marge the Matriarch. Can you talk about Marge a little bit? The inspiration that she is to you.
Oh, where do I begin?
In the beginning.
Like Marge McKenna is such an amazing, powerful inspiration to me. She turned 103 back in the summer, last summer. I was actually trying to find a female figure who is rooted in excellence, but also that not everyone, like, it's not like common knowledge, it's not like celebrity everyone knows about. I find there's a certain power in highlighting the excellence or the amazement in the everyday people. I don't think I think our neighbors deserve to be celebrated. I think kindness should be put on a pedestal. Like, why don't we have big monuments of everyday people who are just, amazing and kind and generous? I find inspiration from, sculptures or monuments that are made for politicians back in the day that are still standing. I hope someday maybe we'll have the same vision, but we would look that way to normal everyday people. Marge McKenna is a veteran, and she has a wonderful family that she has raised with, with such hard work and like relentlessness. Um, she deserves a wonderful sculpture. Not that my sculpture is wonderful, but something that speaks to her power and to the wonderful woman that she is.
Yeah. No, it's great that you're able to do that. I mean, that's I don't know. How did she feel about the attention?
It was her birthday, so it was a good time. We did a sculpture reveal. Um, she was smiling, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, I think in her heart she probably was very, very proud of you as well, and happy that you took the time to do that piece on her behalf, and have it part of your show. I think it's. I mean, sometimes artists undervalue what they give back. They produce work every day, and they do work, and they try to make their living, and they sell their work, and after a while they have to look back and say, what have I done in the last 20 years? And they say what you've done. And when you're just sort of starting your career out, and you say, when you look back and say, these are, I'll hate to say it, these are the naive years. I mean, you've been going to college, learning at university there, and learning how to respond to things, and learning about yourself, and through your sculpture. And it's quite mature sculpture. And where is that going to be in 20 years from now, where you started, right? And I can see already where you were as a child in your drawings, and how that affected you so much, and how you respond to metals, in the importance. So do you still do drawings? Do you do drawings of your work before you do maquettes, or before you do these larger pieces? Like the concept? Do you do concepts in graphite?
Usually it's just I'm in the studio and I pick up the metal rods and I would twist them, and each piece would lead to the other.
Yeah.
I don't really draw to base my sculpture off of. I don't have reference drawings per se. I think printing out photographs of Marge, for example, helps me in my practice to just have the actual picture, and then the metals that I would choose, each shape and each thickness, would just be responding to a specific part of the face, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you see this as a portraiture, really, in metal. Yeah. So it's like this continuous line piece to depict the person. What's nice is that it's three-dimensional. You can walk around it. You can see the full head around it. Yeah. No, it's a lovely keepsake. I mean, it really is, and it is a forever thing, right? You can just go back to it and look at it and respond to it in different ways. So this one now, is this a portraiture as well? This one?
It is.
It is. Okay.
It is. Yeah.
It still feels very nest-like. Like you were talking about working collaboratively, and you were building this, the nesting aspects of the birds that you like so much, and it feels a little nest-like in how it was built. Can you talk to this sculpture a little bit, how it was made and what it's for?
Yeah, well, this sculpture has a very special place in my heart. It was the first sculpture that I made following the vision of wanting to create a different form out of this beautiful material. It's a dedication to metal workers and their rights. I find lots of in that type of field, it's the hazard for their health is very high. But they always show up and they're there to help us. Let's say at the metal shop or at big industries. They give their whole life, and I know that their rights they're still fighting for better job conditions. So it's a dedication to see the human behind the everyday metal worker.
Yeah, I think there's great opportunity in Halifax because it is a shipbuilding and metal building city. It would be great if they had some of those businesses as residencies. If we put on a residencies for artists so that they could work in a space and work. Their workers can see how other people respond to metals, and you can respond to how they work with metals. That might be an opportunity for you is to knock on doors and see if they'll sponsor a residency for you. I think those become found spaces, and surprisingly, if you've got your OH&S thing a little bit, so you're not going to get in the way and bother. Sometimes they have as part of a shop that they would use and let you use the space to respond to their metals that they use in a different way. And then from there, it just grows into other things. And so looking at a residency might be your answer for a studio space that you're working within the city that you like so much. Oh, the time has just flown by like crazy. Talking about your work that I love. I love this piece. It's just lovely. It feels like this egg sitting on a platform. It's portraiture. It can be so many nice things, and it's a lovely piece. Anyway, we're going to bring David back in here if he hasn't gone away someplace, and we'll see what he has to say about the sculpture. There you go.
Yeah, sculptures. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, it'd be great to be if I was a sculptor, but how do you travel with all this stuff? It's not like a painting. You need a big truck to put some of that stuff in, or not?
Well, this one probably not as bad. You probably could put this in a nice little box padded. But the larger pieces, they require some transportation, and there's ways of doing that, and logistics will help you figure out how to get it from one location to the other. Usually a transport truck of some such, but some way. But anyway,
and your wonderful pieces of work, then, Elanor. If we wanted to purchase some of your work, could you give us an idea of the sort of price ranges we'd be looking at?
Yeah, well, for whichever piece, my website is at www.eleanorjazz.com. My email is eleanorjazz@gmail.com. You can always reach out. And price ranges are very variable. There's a price range for every sculpture, and just reach out.
I think it's difficult to ask because the scale is so from here to here. So I think I advise people, the website is up on our screen here as well. They just have to go to and it'll be in our contacts at the end of the show. I appreciate everybody's tuning in today on Canadian Art Today. And thank you, David, for hosting us. And
it's almost my duty to ask all the artists how much their stuff is, because we want this stuff sold. We want people to move on to new projects so we can enjoy the journey with them. So
well, they look at our site to see the big stuff, and they can figure out how much it costs to get it to them. They're really not as heavy as you look. I think they're quite light. It's just they're a little airy. They need a little bit of space so they don't get damaged. But anyway, I thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining us, and I appreciate everybody's time. Anyway.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for another wonderful guest, Elanor. I wish you have success going forward.
Thank you.
And if it's our absolute pleasure to show the world the wonderful work that you're producing. Lots of other artists as well on Canadian Art Today. You can find them all on the playlist, all on 2OF Entertainment Channel. And Paul, and until the next time on Canadian Art Today.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay.